What is up, comic fans? Welcome to the channel. I'm Mark. This is Legion of Comics, and it's Sunday, so that means this is at week's end, the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics, pop culture, and so much more. But before we dive into any of that, check this out. Give a big shout out to the channel sponsors, Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to follow them at their webpage or on social media to not miss out on all the great stuff they're doing. They sponsor the monthly Legion Loot giveaway for the channel members. So if you want to consider getting in on that action, go down below, hit that join button, and become a channel member today. Also, if you need anything Cleaner Press, be sure to hit up our friend Justin's Comics over on Instagram. Let him know that you found him via the channel, or hit him with the promo code We Are Legion and take advantage of the buy two get one free special offer. He can also submit books directly to CGC or CBCS for you if you don't have your own account. The links to all the sponsors are in the description to all my videos, as well as the links to Pop's Attic over on Instagram if you're looking to buy some good books for Move It Now prices. So let's get into it. There's a lot of awesome books to talk, some great announcements to cover, and a few other things to go over. So let's bring in the co-hostess with the mostest, hailing from the next sector over. We have none other than Mr. Paul Cook, Sector 2815.
What's going on?
And it's living the dream, living the dream. I know you were excited for some of these announcements that we just got.
Yes. Did I say yes? Yes.
You did say yes. So Ryan sends his love. He's still reeling from the new baby syndrome. It's a side effect that happens when you have a brand new baby and you work a job and all that good stuff. But he is awesome. He's doing good. And Chris, the comic vet schedule and stuff is just tough with him, as it has been since he's taken on this new position at the new job and everything. So he sends his best as well. So me and Mr. Paul Cook are going to hold it down. We got some good stuff to talk about. I'm very excited. Let's hit up the chat real quick because I'm excited for Mr. Shop for Comics here. Did I beat Las Crucius and Matt? Hashtag We Are Legion. The prize goes to Shop for Comics. And if you're not following him on IG, you're missing out on some amazing stuff. He's been drawing pictures of the community members as superheroes, which they just look fantastic. It looks fantastic. He says he might be putting some littles down at the start of the show. He'll try to hop on when he's done. In Curveball, we started the show about 20 minutes early just because everyone else, we figured out the schedules. And to be honest with you, The Last of Us is like counter programming to this, and I would like to be able to watch it before I fall asleep. So yeah, the start time of this show was for the group of us. So as soon as both of us were ready to rock, we took off. Loaders Empire, what is going on? One of the channel members right there. Loaders, I don't know if you've hit me up on IG yet, but I do have new member welcome packets with stickers, magnets, and all kinds of goodies. 100% free. Hit me up on IG and hit me with your shipping address, and I'll get one out to you. DJ Links is in the building throwing those custom emojis. You get access to those from channel membership. Cole's Comics claims, what is going on? What is up? What is up? Durs is in the building. Hello, hello. I was listening to some of his rewind of his show, and I heard that the Eagles won a big game tonight or today.
Yep.
Which I don't sports ball, but go Birds, because I do watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I bleed green. It was so ridiculous. I love it. Such a beautiful.
Thank you, DJ. I appreciate that.
It's Michael Turner artwork.
Yeah.
You can tell from here. Yeah, I got the Illuminati tee on. You can find these in the Legion of Comics shop. There should be a direct link when you're watching the channel, as well as it's just legionofcomics.shop, or you can hit up djlinks.shop to get one too. We do have different colors on each of our shops. Curveball, this one's not from either of those shops. Good evening, Stephen C., another channel member. How are you doing, my friend? Super Bowl baby. Fire show as well. Phil, what is going on? Phil, I got your package all boxed up, getting ready to go out to you. Pocan Joe is in the building. What is going on? Just put up an awesome video turning a mace into a back scratcher. So that's like a multi-purpose tool at this point. Geek Out or Roscoe, how are y'all doing? So we're gonna jump into it here. That was the last one in the comments. So there were some really big announcements made. Jeremy Adams, as well as Tom Taylor, I believe it was, both put out a tease. It was Tuesday because I had read the DC books and no one else that I talked to had yet. And they said they have a big announcement coming tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, it's Tuesday. Today is DC Day. Tell us. This has to be about future announcements. And sure enough, it was. They had some major announcements for the slate of books that'll be expanding the DC Comics universe this year. Paul, you want to touch on one of those? I know you got to be excited.
Sure. I'm excited for all three, but the first one I'm excited for is Hal Jordan is going to be back, starring in his own book again, written by Jeremy Adams, who has become one of my favorite writers from what he's been doing with the
Yes.
Flash, with art by Germanico, who did the Flashpoint Beyond series.
Which
So
Jeremy Adams also worked on.
correct. And there's going to be a backup in each of those issues as well that's going to have John Stewart, which will be written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, which will be like a prequel leading into the John Stewart series later
The
on.
ongoing John Stewart. Dude, this is huge news. Doesn't matter what sector you live in. This is major news. We have been in a vacuum without any proper Green Lantern book for going on a year now, and even longer. If you, I mean, there's Green Lantern titles coming out, but it was not anything like Green Lantern proper. They were kind of
Right, right.
teetering in like that 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the 5G era, still kind of dealing with the stuff that was set up and the balls that got rolling before they decided to switch gears. So this is awesome because I believe initially when they announced the Hal Jordan series, correct me if I'm mistaken, but Mariko Tamaki was attached to it,
Correct. Yes, they
which
did.
I was perfectly fine with. But getting Jeremy Adams, that takes it from I'm definitely picking it up to I cannot wait to pick it up.
Right.
This is about to be nuts. So for those that don't know, Jeremy Adams is a huge, huge comic book pop culture writer. It's not just limited to comic books. He's really like taken the Flash to the start of the race again. Like this Flash run has just been amazing. But he also writes a lot of the DC animated universe movies, as well as those R-rated, hard-hitting Mortal Kombat animated feature films for Warner Brothers as well.
Right. And one of the first DC things that he ever wrote was an episode of Green Lantern the animated series.
That's makes perfect sense. Like
Hmm.
bringing him home. It's like a homecoming
Yep.
for him. So that's fantastic. I cannot wait. Now, one of the bad sides to this, and I guess this does have to do with the changing of writers, the title did get pushed back 1 month. It was
Right.
scheduled for, again, correct me if I'm wrong, an April release, and they moved it back to May,
Correct.
which that's not that big of a wait or pushback or anything.
No.
But I can already imagine somebody like Jeremy Adams, if something happens scheduled wise or whatever with Mariko, and you step over to Jeremy and say, "Hey, do you have any ideas for a Green Lantern story?" Boy, do I. And he just pulls his drawer open and puts like 15 stories on
Hmm.
your desk right then and there.
Right. But then you need a whole nother, because I'm sure they had an artist and everything lined up too. So you got to gear up the whole thing. So it takes a good month probably to get everything, rolling again. So, but like I
Needless
said,
to
it's only
say,
a month, so it's like,
I'm pumped. So when they said that there's a big announcement coming, I mentioned it in when we were chatting. I'm like, dude, it has to be about the slate of releases. And by this point, I'm sure you've read through your books. God, is there? It's probably not even one in here. But they have that 2-page spread in almost all the monthlies that came out this week. And it shows you the lineup as of
right
now.
there.
Let me make you bigger. So those are the titles that they've already announced. So we have a Hawkman title, a Shazam title that we know Dan Mora will be working on with Mark Waid.
Hmm.
Batman's on there. I assume that could possibly be the Brave and the Bold title
Right. Yep.
that Tom King is going to be writing. And then you have the Green Lantern underneath it. We already know Green Arrow is going to be helmed by Joshua Williamson. Doom Patrol is going to be a spinoff or spinning out of the events of Lazarus Planet. And of course, we're kicking off this whole thing with the Super Family. But if you look above the Batman symbol where it says night and it's faded, dead center, and that's the name of the next big event. It has to be, right?
Right.
Because
It
we have
says night.
Lazarus Planet all the way on the left, showing us the first big event of the year. And then you get
Yep.
to the centerfold and it just says night and it fades out.
Right. The second word starts with a T. You can tell that, but that's it.
So I have no clue what it's going to be. That's what I thought that they were going to be announcing. And I guess it makes sense not to announce that in the middle of Lazarus Planet, but I thought they were announcing that, but they announced the Green Lantern thing and then they didn't stop there. Tom Taylor went on to make his post.
Tom Taylor, as well as Nicola Scott, who is one of the premier artists for DC. I mean, she does some of the high profile stuff for DC. They're doing a Titans book. So Tom Taylor is going to have Nightwing in Nightwing, as well as going to be writing Nightwing as in the Titans. So he is all in on Nightwing, and what he's been doing so far is just incredible. And it looks like it's going to have the when I say classic, I mean the classic Marv Wolfman, George Perez lineup as well. So
For
Yeah,
those that
again,
don't
just
know,
cannot wait.
that lineup includes Starfire, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Nightwing, and that's
Wally West.
Wally West. Yeah. So, and on top of that, and Flo Dameron pointed this out, he was super excited to see the design of these characters look pretty traditional to what they look like in modern comics. But Cyborg, it looks like they're giving him back some of his body parts. In that
Hmm.
previous run of Teen Titans that we got, it was Teen Titans Academy. It came out of the Future State event, and it was kind of a little all over the place. There were some really strong story points in it, but ultimately it really just didn't land. There was too much going on, having three generations of students and teachers in the academy at once. And Cyborg had this like almost Colossus look. His whole body was just metal, except for a little bit of his face with just horizontal lines. But it looks like we're going back to an actual cyborg look where you have obvious enhancement parts, but he has like arms. You have fingers sticking out of the gloves on one hand. So that's super dope. And we'll be getting a cyborg series, a standalone cyborg coming up here soon as well. So that was another huge one.
That was the third. I can't recall who's writing it. It's not someone who's writing anything. I don't
I didn't
think right
recognize
now
the name
for
yet. To
DC. It
be
isn't
honest
his
with you, it's
name,
a
but
title I'll most likely skip.
yeah.
I'll check it out on the app aspect of it. Hear some reviews. Then again, if Flo's excited, there's a good chance that he's already working on contacting the creative team to have them on his podcast. And at that point, I'll just listen to the podcast and I'll know beforehand if it's something I want to pick up. Because that's one
Right.
great thing about listening to creators on podcasts. If you
Hmm.
think you're excited for something, then you hear them talk and you're either definitely in or you're all the way out. You're like, dude, I don't know what your goal is, but I'll pass. Hard
Hmm.
pass. What is going on, J Pop? How are you doing tonight? Wheelchair Superhero 87 is in the building. Night Tickle is coming. Dude, there it is. There it
Night
is.
Tickle.
Maybe DC bought Night Thrasher and he's going to be riding a skateboard right on over to the DC universe. So the last thing that really caught my attention, the biggest announcement for me personally, were I'm all in on John Kent. I absolutely love Superboy characters. I always had since I was little. I mean, it's the closest thing Superman had to a sidekick from the mindset of a child. You're like, I'm a kid, I'm Superboy kind of thing, and I still enjoy him. I loved Connor Kent when he came out during Reign of Superman. The leather jacket was awesome. To be honest with you, I love John Kent more now that he's aged up than as a Super Sons. I didn't really dig that. I like the aspect of Clark interacting with his son and having the family, but John Kent on his own as a kid, it was just annoying to me, to be honest. But aged up John Kent, I'm like 110% in. I love the book. Tom Taylor's writing it, and he put out a post today stating that there's a huge secret that he's been hiding from everybody with John Kent, and it's inside of the pages of his upcoming series, Adventures of Superman John Kent. Let me see if I can actually get the post up. He said, "There's a secret to Adventures of Superman John Kent. There's something we haven't told you, something we're hiding. All will be revealed." And my first thought is, what if John Kent's still a kid and this isn't our John Kent this whole time?
Let me.
Like, how, if they de-age this kid, I know there's a lot of fans wanting him de-age. There's plenty of people that like him how he is, but if they de-age this kid, I'm going to be heartbroken.
Hmm. Yeah. The only thing, I mean, I didn't think of that, but in some ways, they kind of, one of the things that they really, I thought, had a lot of success with was Super Sons, and that really doesn't work when they're not the same age. If they wanted to go back and do some more of that again.
Well, they did that little throwback book that ran for a couple issues with Super
Hmm.
Sons and all that. But I'll be honest with you, one thing I like so much about him being older, and I've said this before, is I think that Damian and John's dynamic works even better now. Because even with John aged up older than Damian, Damian is still mentally older than John. Being raised by the League of Assassins, being raised from the age of 12 to be a killer, like he does not have the mindset of a 12-year-old. So when you put Damian up against 12-year-old innocent farm boy John Kent, it's just too much. Even now, like their dynamic in the moments we've seen have been so hard hitting. Like how John still leans to Damian for that support, almost like he's the elder.
Yeah, yeah. The thing that I don't know why it popped into my mind right at this second, but the other thing is I don't see them de-aging him because that would just be super weird for his boyfriend.
Well, I don't think they're going to de-age him. I think this isn't our Earth's John Kent.
Hmm. Well, that's
What?
interesting you say that because they say that in the first issue that there are John Kents everywhere, right? There are there are Supermen all over the place, and it has to do with the multiverse of Superman.
Oh
Supposedly,
no!
in the
Are you
first
talking about
issue,
the solicitation for this issue?
for the first issue, yeah, and that's how he ends up fighting Ultraman.
So what I was thinking, like, what if like John's still in that volcano? Like,
Hmm.
obviously he's not. Or what if it's just a different John that came back from the future, and our John's still a kid with the League? Or I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we did start early for scheduling reasons. The boys need to see the galaxy. Good evening to El Green Machine who popped in. Warlord, how are you doing? Johnny Boys Comics, how are you? Yeah, we were just talking about the announcements for the Green Lantern series that Jeremy Adams announced he'll be writing. Titans is coming back proper with Tom Taylor on it. And Tom Taylor also has a huge secret about John Kent he's been hiding inside of the pages of this upcoming series, Adventures of Superman. Start over, start over. So, yeah, throw your thoughts in the comments. The new Green Lantern series by Jeremy Adams, the new Teen Titan series by Tom Taylor, the tease for the next DC summer event. We know it's Night something that starts with a T. So yeah, there's definitely some tough stuff lined up. I'm super pumped. There's just not a lot of stuff lined up for this coming week.
Right.
I don't know if y'all saw that, but it is the smallest release week of the year so far next week.
Yeah, it's really light. The next couple weeks, I think, actually. Although
But
there's still Lazarus Planet stuff going on, so Titans and Doom Patrol are both canceled. That was announced this week as well.
and James Gunn did put out a post saying that was not him, wasn't me.
Right, right.
That was all in the works before I got there. Yeah. And Flo, do you remember who's writing the Cyborg series that we were talking about? I did mention you and plug your podcast already, and talk about how you were excited for Cyborg to get some of his skin back. But yeah, there's some cool stuff coming. So this show is counter programming probably to the hottest television show that's happened in a while, The Last of Us. Episode 3 starts tonight at 9 p.m. on HBO. Unless you have a streaming service, then it just is available at 9 p.m. till whenever you watch it. But I watched the first 2 episodes and absolutely love this show. What are your thoughts on that second episode?
Phenomenal. When she, when they're in the whatever it is in like the Boston history. Well, there's a couple things. When they're in the Boston history thing, and they're flying all over the place, and I didn't know that it was just sound. It had nothing to do with sight. It was all sound that they went off of. And then they went to the other place, and they all followed them. And she was being infected by the thing, and she had the lighter, and she's trying to light the lighter, and they had poured all the. And I'm like, oh my god, what's it gonna be? Is she gonna be infected first, or is she gonna blow everything up? And it was like, man, it was just like the you could cut the suspense with a knife. It was
Yeah, it was
it was
pretty
incredible.
intense. And I thought the show did a great job. They're like taking their time to really world build. Like, we still don't really know much about the world other than it's post-apocalyptic. We know that there's these little factions, like a mean government. There's these fireflies that are some kind of rebellious unit. We have no clue what their actual goal or motives are or anything yet. And we took that first episode to really get introduced to the characters and spend a little bit of time with them. But in this episode, the whole device was meant to explain the infection to us. They spotlighted it in so many different ways, from the creeping vines to them testing to see if they're alive or dead before they went into buildings, to talking about how it expands even under the ground. And you can touch a part of it over here, and a mile off, it'll still be able to have receptors and everything. And that ending was insane. There we go. Morgan Hampton, I guess it might be the name of that writer. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic episode. I did not expect for the character at the end to go out the way they did. After watching the first episode, I thought that was going to be a character that you can't trust, that's going to turn on these people somewhere along the way, throw them under the bus. But it definitely keeps me guessing. I have no clue what I'm in store for. Oh, Green,
Yeah, it's just
both episodes of the show is awesome. I can really get into the show. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it just I don't know how closely it follows the game, um, but it is just it just keeps me on the edge of my seat to watching it. It's like, you know,
Yeah, so obviously I don't play the game either. They didn't release it for N64, but from my understanding and watching a bunch of stuff on it, there's a lot of it that's close in aspects, and they're intentionally starting to deviate a little bit from it, like the way that the infection spreads, as well as like in the game. At this point, we wouldn't have seen any of the clickers or the infected monsters.
right?
It's really that government military esque troop that would be following them, chasing them through buildings, but they're trying to do stuff not different for the sake of being different. There is the added bonus of all your viewers can experience something new, but they sat down and looked at what might work better in one platform versus a different medium, and they're doing the best they can to just deliver high quality television. And per usual, HBO is nailing it.
Yeah, and even I mean, even the I mean, you have like the walkers and the what the Walking Dead and everything, but I mean, these look. It's,
Trying really hard to make compatible with humans.
I mean, these look really, at least to me anyway, look really scary. You know,
Yeah, they're trippy. And if you watch, I'll watch on HBO Max app, and after the episodes, they have like little 5-10 minute special features, like behind the scenes. And they were talking about how for this episode, those clickers that were attacking them in the museum, which as you mentioned, like they go by sound, which added just a
right.
whole other sense of dread because
Mhm.
just cutting the suspense with a knife, you're sitting there like watching, not even you find yourself not even moving. I don't even want to make a noise. But they
Mhm.
said that those actors were avid fans of the video game, so they're able to lean into their experience with the game to bring out the performance. They didn't have to give them much direction because they were so impacted from their time playing the game. They still remembered how they moved, how they sounded, the feeling of dread that they felt, and they were trying to put that onto their actors, and they nailed it. They
Oh
nailed
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. So, any other big news announcements? Viola Davis is confirmed to be sticking around. By the way,
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, tomorrow is what, the 30th of January?
mm-hmm.
We're running out of days for right, 2 more days for
2
Mr. Gunn
days.
to do something.
And it was 2 days ago that somebody asked him on Twitter, "Hey, I thought we were going to be getting a DC lineup this month. Is that still happening?" And he said, "Yes, it is still happening this month." So,
Right. He said there are 31 days in January.
ooh, I can't wait. I can't wait. The Shazam Fury the God had a second trailer that just dropped. They're also like the official sponsor of the that that football game that's playing right now with uh, Beckerman's team and Steve's team versus the
Yep.
Tigers.
The
It's like
Bengals.
the Arrowheads versus the Tigers. I don't.
Right. The Chiefs against the Bengals, but that was
That's
close.
it. Yeah, I'm just going. I saw tiger stripes and arrowheads. What's up, big guy? Well, I'm talking to Mr. Paul. You want to talk to Mr. Paul?
And play with
No, I'm not going to do all that.
Hey. Hey, Finn.
Every spot I found on the floor.
Awesome sauce. So yeah, there's
And I
a.
accidentally sat in a wet spot.
Oh
so my
goodness!
underwear's
Did you
all
go
over
change
the-
them?
No.
We'll do that.
It's okay.
No, it's not. But yeah, so I saw that there was getting a lot of TV spots, which is pretty cool. I wasn't blown away by the trailer, to say the least. I think it'll be fun. It looked
Mhm.
really self-contained. It just looked like it was missing that X factor to me.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by it either, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. It didn't. It There was kind of like a goofiness to it, and the first one kind of had maybe it's because you can't do that when he's been Shazam forever, so it's not going to be you're not going to have the goofiness anymore. But there was all that in the first one that I kind of thought was lacking, at least in the second trailer anyway.
Yeah, that I'm really not a fan of that. I've been a huge fan of Captain Marvel since I was a kid, and that was one of the things that drew me to Kingdom Come. And this whole campy, goofy child mind when he's Captain Marvel just I know that's
But
been
no,
going for a little while, but it just kind of throws me off.
but when I say that, what I'm talking about is, you know, when he first became it, he had to get used to the fact that he was an adult, and he had to, he's still I mean, his brain is still working as a child, and so that's what I did enjoy that in the first movie, and again, I guess you have to kind of move past that as you move along. So
Yeah. It was a delightful, fun film, that first one was. So I expect to be entertained by this one as well.
yeah,
I just don't want them to forget, like, the dude has the wisdom of Solomon.
I was just gonna say
The
that.
wisdom of Solomon.
Mhm.
The wisdom of Solomon. He can't think of a name for himself. That's God, I hate that. That is such a like a problem with that character with me. Like, his name's not Shazam. Like, he can't even say that word.
I was gonna say he can't tell anybody his name because he would end up turning into Billy Batson.
Yeah, it's not his name. Like, they need to come up with whatever solution they need to give him his name back.
Hmm. Maybe demote
Yeah,
him.
that's
Make him
a good
sergeant.
point too. Like I know I do that as well. He displaces discomfort with humor. I know, like, one emotion, but yeah, and I know it's a good way to set him aside, different of Superman as well. And it was in the Justice League International run in the mid to late '80s when they first started playing with that concept.
Hmm.
So, wasn't too long after DC acquired him that they wanted to make him somehow different than Superman, because originally he was just a counter Superman character that was outselling Superman for many years as well.
He was.
He should be promoted to Admiral Marvel. Yeah, especially by this point. He's been at it a while. So
Hmm.
you want to dive into some books? There's some good stuff that came out this week.
Sure.
A lot
do
of
you
good stuff. I'll go down the list and you can pick. We got Detective Comics from Ron
Yep.
V.
Hmm.
We've got Sergeant Rock versus the Army of Dead, which I didn't realize I'm misreading that yet. Action Comics 1051.
Yep.
That's a facsimile. That one is Power Rangers. That's a gift from Nick. Last Ronin, The Lost Years.
Okay.
Junkyard Joe #4.
Yep.
Human Target.
Yep.
Justice Society of America.
Yep.
Catwoman, One Bad Day.
You read that?
I did. And Lazarus Planet.
I have all of those except for I did not get the Ronin one. I did not get the my Sergeant Rock one hasn't arrived yet.
That's fine, because I missed reading it somehow. I thought I'd read everything this week, and it was just in between. So we'll hit that one up at a later date. I did also pick up a variant for Action Comics 1050, that gorgeous foil embossed Steve Beach. I've just become a sucker for his Superman covers. They are next level awesome.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that is pretty.
Absolutely crushed it. I'll just do a quick little review of Last Ronin, The Lost Years. So this starts off where we left the main series, but then it kind of goes into flashback mode to fill in some of that gap from the death of his family to where we pick up with him at Last Ronin issue #1. And it's time when he's like traveling, kind of nomadic, just walking into the woods to his death kind of thing. And he lays and he sits and he just doesn't really expire. And he starts flashing back to Master Splinter and some of the lessons that he taught him, and it motivates him to get up and start a quiet life for himself off in the woods until he's interrupted by some people who just won't let him be. And it gets violent fast, and then he starts traveling again from there. And it looks like he's accidentally and inadvertently picked a fight with a local warlord. So it's like he just started up a fight with a local warlord, basically. So it looks like we're going to be exploring that a little bit, and probably what really triggered him to get on his proper revenge streak to go back to Shredder's grandkid, and which we saw in the proper title. But it was good. I didn't really expect to enjoy it. I mean, I like Turtles, but I like them because I like the movies and the cartoons and the toys. I've never been like, give me these Turtle comics. I read a lot of the IDW stuff in trade format, but it wears off real fast for me. But I really liked it. Like, I'm really excited for the next issue.
I'm interested in it, but I think I might just buy the trade when it's over because I don't want to be sucked in again by reading the first issue and then having to wait another 6 months.
Yeah, dude, I hope that we're not hit with the delays that we were for the title proper.
Right. I mean, the first one, granted, it came out right when the pandemic started and everything, and it was, it really got impacted by that, but it just really lost all momentum for me.
Yeah, every bit of it. And also they the big thing with that, remember, was they pulled back and started the art from scratch. They sent out the ash cans in the preview pages, and I still don't to this day know what they mean when they said there was retailer feedback that said that they didn't like this. So they got rid of the interior artist and they brought in Ben Bishop to do it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So that was their excuse, like outside of the typical delays we were seeing. They were having to draw the book on the fly as they go. And I don't know. I don't see Ben Bishop's name in other stuff that I pick up just naturally. I don't know how busy the guy is. I don't want to assume or presume that he doesn't have anything better to do. But God, 5 issues over a year and a half, was it?
At least.
And people complain about Doomsday Clock. That's funny. I guess you could complain about both. Other than the Doomsday Clock was better. Flash Ray Videos, what is happening? But good news, I do have, I had fun collecting the Big Time Collectibles John Jane covers for that. They're gorgeous covers, just absolutely beautiful. What is going on? Chop and Drop is in the building. But they got John back to do covers for this series as well. So I'm excited to get more turtle covers from him.
And it doesn't look like it's oversized like the first one, right? It looks like it's a normal.
Yeah, that's in a regular modern backing board. They should have done that with the first one, or they should have done it proper prestige format, not tall and skinny. But I don't mind them being oversized. I like reading oversized books, but it was just such an awkward, doesn't make sense style book. Everything about it didn't make sense. Like changing the art, the delays, the size, the shape, none of it. Then I don't know if you remember, but they had 72 exclusives or 72 covers, pardon me, for issue number 1. That's the actual number, 72 covers for issue number 1. It was such a hyped up book. And there's actually people waiting in line outside of comic shops before it opened. That's how I met Alan Rue and got him to start coming over and watching YouTube and stuff, the Comic Viking. He came running in the store like a madman. I think it was on a Thursday even. He's like, I'm looking for the Last Ronin. Do y'all have Last Ronin books? And I'm standing there with my copy and other books not checked out yet, talking to the owner. And me and the owner are both like, no, man, there's no Last Ronin books. They were allocated. More people wanted them than they made, all kinds of stuff. And he died inside. I'm like, oh man. So I took my copy. I'm like, here, you can have mine, bro. And I gave him my copy. And that's how I met Alan. Yeah, it was good stuff.
That's a very heartwarming story.
And then you get to know Alan, and you absolutely regret doing anything nice for him.
I'm still trying to get my copy back.
So next up, you pick one. Which one do you want to actually dive into first?
Let's do the Lazarus one. Get it out of the way.
Yeah, we're going to light review this one, guys, because we do deep dives. We do DC Comic deep dives that release every Monday.
Monday at 10 o'clock. 10
on
a.m.
Sector 2815's YouTube channel. And right now, since Dark Crisis wrapped up, we're focusing on Lazarus Planet. So we don't go in on everything that came out. We're just kind of talking a topic. And for right now, until this event is over, this is every Monday, there's a new Lazarus Planet that drops. So this one we go into deep detail, go page by page through it, take about 20 minutes or so. But yeah, what do you think of this one?
I really liked it. Again, it's 4 separate stories. It has to deal with Aquaman, and then we dive into the Martian Manhunter, and then we dive into Wonder Woman and Yara Flor, and then we end up with Billy Batson and the Marvel family. And some of them have 3 out of the 4 of them indicate that they're going to be continued somewhere else, not necessarily in the Lazarus Planet issue. For instance, the Aquaman story has to deal with basically what happens when the Lazarus resin falls into the ocean and comes into contact with the trench. And the trench basically become air breathers. And so they end up on the beach against some people that are fishing or are just like beachcombers or whatever. Aquaman comes up and says, basically, you know what? I had the same problem that you guys have with them, but these are my people as well. And so he says, you don't want to see what these people are truly capable of, and then it says to be continued in the dawn of DC. So maybe an Aquaman series might be in our future as well.
Hopefully,
we can only hope.
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed this one a lot more than that last one. This one did a good job of like really spreading out the information of how far this Lazarus effect is really taking hold. Like you mentioned, all the way to the oceans, to the deepest part of the oceans with the trench. It re-evolved them because they kind of devolved into these deep sea, high pressure, low light creatures, and now it revolved them back to humans again. But I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that one. The Wonder Woman one kind of touches on the same thing slightly. We get to see Wonder Woman just sparring on the beach with a friend, and a lot of their dead, fallen enemies whose bodies were rotting off the shores of Themyscira in the ocean come back up. It was Theseus, wasn't it? And his army came up, re-attacking them as zombies, threatening them, letting them know that all of your enemies that have fallen of your blade are alive. The gates of Hades have reopened, and we're all coming for you. And that was just the first of it. Those are just the closest ones to them. So there's more on their way. And that was another one that they said would be continued in God, what's the name of it?
Revenge of the Gods. Right. The Martian Manhunter one has to deal with Doomsday. Basically, there is a person who is kind of like an empath who can take away pain from people. And so he goes around taking away pain. But what happens is he ends up taking the pain of the city of Metropolis into him. And this pain was caused by Doomsday. And so Doomsday basically ends up, the image of Doomsday ends up inside of him, and so he starts to take on the appearance of Doomsday. And so Martian Manhunter then decides that he's going to try to help him as well. So he tries to take some of that away from him, but it becomes too much for him as well.
Yeah, it gets pretty rough. It mutates, it morphs him, and then the empath ends up going Super Saiyan empath and taking it all and holding it so tight that it becomes like anything under enough pressure and becomes a stone or a gem, like a diamond out of coal. He becomes an actual gem. Like he sacrificed himself to contain all of that pain into this stone. And it ended kind of beautifully with Superman and Martian Manhunter out in space looking at the world, talking about all of Superman's abilities and ask him if he has the ability to see all these emotions and to hear the song of the world and things crying out on that level. And Superman just kind of sympathizing for him because he can't, and knowing how much it hurt to see that kid die like he did.
Right. So that's the one that doesn't indicate it's going to continue somewhere else. The fourth story has to deal with Mary Marvel and Bolt from Black Adam, and their attempt to Malik, their attempts to try to get Billy out of the Rock of Eternity, where he has been in prison for quite a while now. Actually,
very long time.
He has been there. So first they have to get there, and they're not sure exactly how they can get there. But Mary is convinced that Black Adam can help her get to Billy. Black Adam is not there, but Malik is, and so he does not want to go. He basically says, "Yeah." He's like, "No, I'm good." So she convinces him finally to go. They basically have to. How they get into the Rock of Eternity is Mary says her power word twice, Shazam. They end up inside, and they end up seeing multiple images of Billy Batson, who basically tells them, "You shouldn't have come here. You need to leave right now. I can't go with you. This was a bad idea. Total, abort, abort, abort type thing." But Malik realizes that if Billy is trapped inside of the Rock of Eternity, with everything being the way it is right now, it is possible that the Rock of Eternity could be trapped inside of Billy instead. And so they basically use their magic word. Billy Batson does use his magic word, and he basically traps the Rock of Eternity inside of Billy Batson. And so that's where it is at the end of the story. And we are told
he was tasked with guarding the rock. So instead of him having to be inside the rock to guard it, they magicked it into him. So he's not free. He's not free. He's still tethered to it, but at least he's in play.
Right. And then we find this mad magic wizard who is just off the wall, who basically says that no one is worthy of of the having the power of Shazam, and it shows as though this story will be continued in Revenge of the Gods as well.
See, that's another thing. What's the wizard's name?
It's Shazam. I
Shazam.
thought.
The wizard's name is Shazam. Captain Marvel can't be Shazam. The wizard is Shazam.
Right.
This doesn't make sense.
Right.
Drives me crazy. But yeah, the wizard Shazam is all hopped up on Lazarus effect. He's super pissed, seeing green, and looks like he's gonna
Get
be.
it? That's funny. Seeing green.
Yeah, he had the green eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
He's gonna be gunning and running for the Marvel family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks as though we're going to have both the gods, Solomon and Hercules and Atlas and Zeus, Achilles and Mercury, all them, as well as the gods from Themyscira. They will all come back because, as you mentioned, as part of this whole thing, the gates of hell has been thrown open, and basically anyone can come back. So I know like 43 people named Mark.
Yeah. No, you can't. Why is your name Shazam? Because I was given these powers by Shazam. They're the powers of
Boom!
Shazam.
As soon as you say that, you're like, you're not even who you are anymore.
Yeah, he's not Shazam. Yeah, Shazam is the name of the wizard. Always has been.
Right.
They need to come up with a name for him. And it looks like they always teeter on the concept of just the champion.
Right.
The champion. And that's not, I mean, it's terrible. But when people know, like, he's the champion of Shazam, he's the champion of Shazam. Like, you just have to beat that in there. He's the champion. I mean, that's... They're called Mark.
They're called Mark.
They are Shazam. What is going on, Callie's Comics? How are you doing tonight? Yeah. But, yeah, that's just a little gripe. I've just been around the characters for longer than he's not been allowed to be called Captain Marvel.
I had this whole discussion with Ryan offline one time. It's like he can't even tell anybody what his name is.
Yeah, that's the problem. And they were playing with it in that first movie so much. Captain Sparkle Fingers and stuff. Like, my man, your name is Captain Marvel. Oh, so there were so many Captain Marvels through the years. So many. I think that had to be the most common superhero name.
He was the original one, though.
You people are Shazam. We're not going down that road again, Roscoe. I did watch that movie today on Netflix while I was at work. The new Eddie Murphy, Jonah Hill movie, You People on Netflix. It was not good, but there's plenty of moments that'll make you laugh, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just call him Distinguished Captain. Get it, DC. Damn, I'm funny. Yeah, that wasn't bad, Taylor. Wasn't bad at all. And for those that don't know, that is Taylor Winder. He is currently pushing to 1,000 subscribers. He put out a little video today on it, which was fantastic. He was at, he said he was at like 135, or 935. He was at 938 when I watched the video. So if you haven't subscribed to Taylor, he has amazing, amazing fun content. If you like cranky style comic reviews, that's his specialty. That's why I cry out, Mark, when I need help. Perfect. I'm back. What is going on? Welcome back. I'm picturing that, but never sleep again. He's good at charades. Yeah. What is going on, Shop? Welcome back, my friend. All right, next book up. I want to go ahead and touch on this because I was wrong. I'm calling it now. I was wrong. I was so upset that I was going to have to pick this up to be a completionist, and I wasn't going to pick it up and not read it. And these One Bad Day books really are exactly that. Not because the book does what they're supposed to, but that's how you feel after you read them. You're like, I'm having a bad day now. They're just not really that good. They set the bar themselves way too high, and they led with their best horse, which was dumb. But this Catwoman, One Bad Day by G. Willow Wilson, art by Jamie McKelvey. This was good. This was actually really good. I enjoyed this a lot. It really took a deep dive into Selina's psyche a little bit in a way, and I thought that was kind of surprising that I enjoyed it. It felt low key, which I liked about it, and I liked how she was kind of she was chasing something that really didn't have monetary value, and she was doing it all for non-monetary value reasons, which took it outside of the normal beaten path of Catwoman type stuff. From my experience, I don't read a lot of Catwoman, but I enjoyed this. The art was really good in it as well.
Okay, I just have one thing. Who are you and what have you done with Mark?
Yeah. I do keep this Catwoman toy here. There we go.
I actually kind of enjoyed it too. Again, not as much as the Tom King one, but
Not close.
so there's been one bad day, but several bad books. Um,
I put this one
But
right
yeah.
under Mr. Freeze, I think.
yeah, I mean, I kind of guessed the whole twist, although I didn't guess the second twist with the brooch. I guessed the first twist that it was going to be basically, you know, that it was good. That even though the guy said it was worth nothing, it was going to be worth something.
Oh yeah, but then you didn't expect it to.
But then I didn't expect it to go back to be nothing again.
Yeah.
So that's the part I didn't expect.
Wasn't even the same brooch.
Right.
Yeah. So the plot of this is Catwoman has a memory of when she was a little girl and her mom was having to pawn some of her personal family heirlooms to get by. She took it to a pawn shop. She says it's this rare thing that survived this terrible time in history, worth a lot of money. Pawn shop owner says it's not real. People say this all the time. I can give you a couple $100s for it. Take it or leave it. Fast forward to the future, Selena finds it in an auction house. It makes it look like she was lied to by the pawnbroker, that it was legitimate. But to the pawnbroker's defense, they didn't ever insinuate that he tried to rip them off. He just didn't know it was real. Selena has a conversation with this woman who works there, who kind of talks to her about it and everything for a little bit before she pulls her caper and steals it. All to find out later that it's fake. It's actually fake. It wasn't real like she thought. So she goes to confront the woman that she had the conversation with who worked there, because she remembered she'd said some things that let her know she must have known it was fake. And she confronts her, and it turns out she's a crook too. She's another woman of many faces who pulls jobs and everything and this and that. And she lives in the city, and she has a huge altercation with her. And the woman, best Catwoman, beats her up. Old lady beats her up and walks off. So it's mysterious, wondering who she is. And that was kind of a downside. I don't really think that they should have used this as like a springboard to future books. I've been thinking these kind of need to be like self-contained one bad day. But it was pretty cool seeing Catwoman chase this item and try to have to stop and reevaluate, like, how do I worth something to me? Like, what is something worth to me? And it was cool. There's a little bit of interactions with Batman. I think that those interactions were fantastic. The artwork in it was really cool. I thought it lent heavily to the style of the story and the characters in it. But yeah, I don't have much to complain about with this one. Do I think it's a Killing Joke level, One Bad Day Riddler level? Nowhere near it. But it was an enjoyable read. It was a good mystery that we were following along for. You're muted, my friend.
I am muted, but I'm not anymore. The one thing that I didn't enjoy about it was her interaction with Batman, because I don't know exactly when in their relationship this was supposed to have taken place, but he basically was like Captain Kirk with her. Like whenever they were together, they just start kissing, no matter what happened. It was like, okay, you know what? Again, I don't know exactly where this falls in their timeline, but no matter where it was, I don't really think that, doing what she's doing, that he would stop to kiss her.
So Taylor thinks it might be Catwoman's mom.
Could be.
I don't know. From the way that the story portrays it, she'd have no reason not to recognize her mom.
True.
But very well could be. The woman had knowledge of the pawn shop, and if it wasn't even the same brooch from the pawn shop, it's a weird
Right.
play to make. I don't know. And her
But that was
sister
the only
being
thing
very
that
interested.
exactly. But that was the only thing that, like I said, he was a little bit too much like Captain Kirk to me.
Yeah. I think it makes sense. I like the little tension and everything in the air. What do you got next?
Um,
Going for Justice Society of America number 2. We're going big with this one. Going real big with this story.
Can I just say that I have waited for years to see this panel?
Oh, yeah. I shared that on IG. As soon as I turned to that page, I'm like, oh, picture, IG.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this was pretty cool. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm still intrigued because obviously it's still unfolding and we don't know, there are different, Dr. Fate is being thrown through time. He's got a sidekick in one history that he doesn't know. He's Khalid in another one. There was a Justice Society dark.
Yes,
that they mentioned here.
And that one pass with that old school Mr. Miracle. That was in there when they were trying to stop Solomon Grundy. So plot-wise in this, we have Helena after the last issue. the snow globe that has the tachyon energy from Dr. Manhattan in it throws her through time, and she lands in this original 1940s brownstone with the whole JSA there. They're like, how did you get in here? And quickly they just go to like Dr. Fate, see if she's telling the truth of what she just told us. And he attempts to, and it throws him through a loop through time and places. And we kind of hop around through some of those misadventures for a little while until we fast forward back to the future where we left Catwoman in that last issue, facing this mysterious bad guy who looks like it's Degaton, I believe.
Mhm.
And she goes in for the attack on him, and he just topples the building. And it looks like she might have died fighting him and ultimately saving Helena in that last issue. Because in the moment that everything falls on her, Helena senses via Dr. Fate that her mom's down, and the snow globe fires off again.
Yeah, again, he's Jeff Johns is taking us through this, this trek through time to some events that we've never seen before, but it seems as though we should know what they are. I was psyched to see there's a 2-panel thing where it's 4 different vertical panels, and
Yeah.
again we have Doctor Fate in 3 out of 4 of them, but one of them has Extant and Sentinel from the Zero Hour. It's like it just it does my heart good to see all these things pulled from DC history and brought in and used again.
So what it's already looking like plot-wise, Degaton is going through all of time, future, past, present, and he's killing all the Justice Society members. This Helena Wayne, who seems to be our main protagonist, is from her own timeline, but she's being forced to take on Degaton. So we have this Helena from this specific timeline, which is not our original one, and Degaton from we don't know when are going to come to a head. Helena is going to be bouncing all around, so she's going to be our primary focus through all of this. At the death of her mom, it set off the snow globe again. I know that sounds weird, but this is the snow globe from Watchmen that Dr. Manhattan had, and it was with the Time Masters. That snow globe got stolen and taken at the end of Flashpoint Beyond that set off all of these events. So that snow globe fired off, that tachyon energy flew out of it, and that's what sent Helena into this issue right here, where she explores a few events with these people trying to understand what's going on. By the end of it, it fires off again, and it shows you that page that Paul just showed you with her flying through different eras through time, and she lands in what looks like to be New 52 era almost, possibly a little bit more modern, but she lands in an alleyway in front of Deadman, Khalid, Dr. Fate, and none other than Detective Chimp, and that's where we get the to be continued. So the next story looks like it's going to be taking place with Justice League Dark a little bit in the future. Again, Dr. Fate seems to be a centerpiece for stories at DC right now. He's our narrator for Danger Street. He's the most important artifact that everyone's chasing in Lazarus Planet, and now he's kind of like our plot driver for this right here. He's like our navigator, if you will. So I have no clue where they're going with this other than a Helena Degaton head-on fight.
Yeah, and these are, I think, Nightwing and Dr. Fate seem like they're the 2 things that are going to be driving the DC universe for the foreseeable future. But it's also important to recognize here that this Huntress you said is Helena Wayne. It's not the one from the Nightwing series a while back, the Bertinelli.
No, this is the original Huntress.
Right, who is the daughter of Catwoman and the Batman.
On Earth 2.
On Earth 2, right.
Yeah, so this is the original Huntress that first appeared in, what was it, DC Comics Preview 17 or something like that, DC Superpowers.
Yeah.
And then Helena Bertinelli, the one that you saw that appeared in film that's on the Birds of Prey, she didn't appear till the early 80s in her own standalone Huntress #1 series.
Right.
So, yeah, this is OG Huntress right here, daughter of Batman and Catwoman. She's tough. She's real tough. JSA 2 is amazing. Detective Chimp, yes, I love Bobo, man. Bobo's the man. And if anyone saw, I did post a video last week where I got my Dead Man McFarlane figure in. I do collect pretty much most movie McFarlane, all the movie McFarlane figures. I've been trying to put together a Green Lantern Corps, and I get all the Justice League Dark figures because I I love the Justice League Dark. It's me and Hodgepodge team. Suicide Squad, must read. Titans I enjoy, but give me something weird like the Justice League Dark, and yeah, that's just fire. Fire. All right, what else you got next? Oh man. Who knew being something so simple could be so powerful? This series is special in so many ways. This is Junkyard Joe, issue number 4 from writer extraordinaire Jeff Johns and artist extraordinaire to create the dream team. Gary Frank, Jeff Johns back at it for their Image Comics universe. This is the second miniseries installment in what they're calling the Unnamed Universe. They have a huge plan, a bunch of miniseries that build out a timeline that go all through the era, all the way back from, what's the earliest one? Is it Redcoat? Or is it even earlier? Yeah, so the Redcoat, which is 1776, all the way through Geiger in 20-something another. 2050. So all these characters don't really seem to have any natural overlap. It doesn't look like we're going to see some kind of like unnamed Justice League team or anything. But there are all these amazing standalone stories that talks about how there's this unknown war that's been raging for like years, and there's these mysterious heroes that have popped up all throughout time to push back against it. So along the way, I'm sure we're going to see how this all connects in some kind of grand scheme that these villains have. But this has got to be one of the most touching stories. This is a huge love letter to veterans of all countries all over the world. It's really cool. So what do you think of this issue, my man?
Yeah, and it's here. I mean, this particular issue, I think, is. I mean, the overall thing is a love letter to veterans, definitely. And there are in the back of every issue there are stories about different veterans. But I also think that this particular issue is kind of a love letter to the Sunday comics too, because not a lot of people buy newspapers anymore, and so you don't see the Sunday comics. You have a Peanuts comic in here, you have a Calvin and Hobbes comic in here, you have a whole bunch of different comics in here, because basically what's happening is Muddy Davis, when he got back from the war, started drawing comics, and he drew a Junkyard Joe comic that he had. I think the interaction with all the kids and Muddy Davis, and it's like, is that a robot? It's like, yeah, it's a robot. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just they're really playing things well. And then you have the overall, there's a group that is coming back to find Junkyard Joe, and it basically is taking no prisoners as they come back to try to find him, and it ends with basically these kids being walking in and finding this group where they are and saying, Geiger was good, Junkyard Joe is. I would agree with that. Junkyard Joe is much better. So it seems as though we got 2 issues to go. We're going to have the face off between the group that's coming to find Junkyard Joe and probably Junkyard Joe and Muddy Davis, probably starting in next issue, I would think.
Yeah, and so one of the most powerful thing about this is how subtle it is. So Muddy lives out in the middle of nowhere, and he has one neighbor, and they're brand new neighbors. It's a husband who's been widowed. He's a widower, right? That's the word for it.
Yeah.
And he has 3 kids, varying ages. One of which is taking the loss of the mother a lot worse than the other 2. And she discovers by looking in the window of Muddy's house, Muddy on his knees, hugging Joe's on his knees, who's breaking down because Joe, even though he's a robot, we don't know the parameters of his intelligence or his learning, but he's suffering severely from PTSD from the events of that one mission he was in Vietnam, which we saw in issue 1. So Muddy's consoling him, and this girl finds him. So the kids next door get introduced. So we don't know the dynamic of how that's going to play out. But what was interesting is Muddy takes Joe into town to the Veterans Affairs building, and he's trying to find him help, like trying to find him emotional help. Like he's not just leaving him out in the wings. And by the end of the issue, you have this Shadow Corporation looking group of people that are out to get him. They're sitting inside Muddy's house when the little kids walk in. Where's Joe? So, and we've already seen these people slaughter countless people, law enforcement officers, gas station attendants, whoever. They just murder anybody they come into contact with. So I don't think it's going to bode well for the family or Muddy. I don't see all of them making out of this no matter what. these books are kind of rough. They I don't feel like anybody's safe kind of thing. You don't know what'll happen.
Yeah, but it is probably one of the best series that I've read in a while, in a
Yeah.
long time, or at least among them anyway.
Yeah, it's for its genre, big time. Like, there's just something about it. It's hard to put your finger on. Something about it, you just read it and you're like, damn,
Hmm.
damn. Yeah, and I loved Geiger as well. And Redcoat was great, who first appeared. They did an 80-page Geiger special, which was a series of stories that primarily focused on the villains that are running Las Vegas in the Geiger world, in the Geiger timeline. But it touched on in 1776 the first appearance of Redcoat. So I'm excited to get back into that character as well. I'm not sure what book's next. Jeff Johns does do letters in the back of each of these issues where he insinuated that it wasn't cheap to get that Peanuts comic strip or that Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, and how him and Gary are both super grateful beyond words to have been able to have those comic strips share a book with their comic strip, because Junkyard Joe is a comic strip that exists inside of the actual comic, inside of that world. So that's still pretty cool. It gets a little meta with that. And Jeff John's always been good about getting pretty meta with stuff. So it was a great book. Great book. On to the next one. On to the next one. Yes. 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 Action Comics 1051. The very first book we're getting with the Dawn of DC banner on the top of it. So we're there. We're there, Paul.
Mhm.
We've made it.
We are.
The
We
Infinite
are.
Frontier is over. The Dawn of DC initiative has officially begun this week. They're going to slow roll it out with just this title, get through Lazarus Planet, then it's going to kick off full steam. But I'm feeling it. The new format to Action Comics. If you're interested in Superman, great jumping on point. There's been nothing but good jump on points here recently, but this is the actual first official issue of the new format where you have 3 stories that comprise this one book. It's got a $4.99 price tag, and I think it's a little bit thicker. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have the whole Super family is in this book. That's why they're doing the 3 separate stories, and so you can kind of spotlight more stuff. And we have the appearance of all their new suits. This was super, super, super cool issue.
Mhm. And I just want to point out, if I'm not mistaken, this
Kingdom Come homage.
I was going to say this is an Alex Ross panel.
Hold
right
the
there.
phone. Yeah, I know a Kingdom Come homage when I see a Kingdom Come homage.
Exactly.
Hold on. Put it back up. Yeah, all day. All
Yep.
day, every day. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
What is going on, Mad Spidey? Quick hello to you as well, my good friend. So yeah, the first story takes place in proper timeline of what's going on. We just saw the big battle with Lex and Clark. We saw that Lex was able to sacrifice Manchester Black in his ultimate plan to wipe Earth's memory of Superman's secret identity. He's trying to strip away his humanity as an ultimate play against him. He wants the world to view him as an alien again. He feels like that's more to his benefit than it is to Superman's having his identity out. So we're back at the point where no one knows he's Clark Kent. No one knows Jonathan is Superman. And now we have the new dynamic of what the Super family is going to do post-war world. It looks like they're setting up John Henry Irons as well as his daughter Natasha to run this tech company there. And we get a little attack, some wild crowds and stuff. They kind of come in and save the day. We get introduced to the dynamic for the first time of the twins of Warworld being brought into the House of El in their home proper, not the Fortress of Solitude. We get to see the first interactions with them and Jonathan, as well as them with the Superman of China. I forget his name.
Keenan,
which was hilarious watching the kids because Keenan's younger as well, playing video games. And we had this pretty awkward moment, which I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a little much. But John opens a closet and sees that Lois kept Clark's War World uniform, which is just trunks, a steel S with straps that held it over him. And she kind of slammed the door shut, blushing, insinuating role playing that they might be doing to keep the flame alive.
hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
They're people too.
Yeah, you got to keep the flame alive. I think I saw that. God, what is her name? She's got a bigger channel, but she put up a YouTube post that said, "I think Lois and Clark need to go back to putting that stuff at the fortress. Like, it doesn't need to be in the house." But it was a great first issue to kind of bring the family all in. And like I said, the twins got new suits. John Kent has this awesome new suit. I am totally
Yep.
digging that. I do like the fact that we have Superman kind of standing out in the classic suit and John having more something definitive that looks like him. Connor's still
Although,
rocking the leather jacket, which is great.
although only temporarily for Jonathan, because he's about to go blue.
If he ever does. Let's
Right,
get
exactly.
honest. If he ever does. Good for Lois
Um,
getting some. That's right. Hell yeah.
exactly. You know.
Yeah, so we do know that inside of the pages of Adventures in Superman, John's supposed to be going electric blue anytime now. But we'll see. And what's cool is this does look like it's a jacket. It's over his suit, so maybe he does just have a standard on under it,
Hmm.
Who knows? But
Right.
I like the uniforms. I really do. I mean, nothing
Yeah,
has
they
to
are.
stay that way forever, but it's cool to get new suits. Spider-Man gets suits all the time. Batman gets suits all the time. Don't change
Iron
Clark.
Man has a new suit every issue.
Every issue. Yeah, don't change Clark's up. Don't take his trunks away. Please
Right.
keep him classic, but you got enough people there to play with some stuff. It's pretty cool. But we did get 3 stories, like I said. The second one might have been my favorite. Might have been.
Okay.
That was the one where we go back to we return to the anniversary issue of the death of Superman, the fight with Doombreaker on the streets. We see what happens immediately following that. It looks like Lois and Clark took John back to the farm he grew up on, back when it wasn't even revealed that he was alive, back when it wasn't even revealed that that was before they came out to the world and said, "Hey, we're actually alive. And this Earth is new to us. Your Superman's dead. You really need us." But they went to go give him some R&R. And then we look over to, was it Star Labs or Luther Tech?
Hmm.
It was one of those
Yeah.
tech organizations, science firms that had taken the Doomsday Shard that caused all the havoc in the birth of Doombreaker in that anniversary special. It's missing. And it appears John Kent has stole it. And
Hmm.
he feels that it's too dangerous. He's still reeling from the reality of his dad dying at the hands of Doomsday and doesn't want this to happen again. So he took that out of the hands of the professionals and feels that he knows what can best be done with it. So this is clearly going to go south. I love that they're returning to that story. Doombreaker was super cool. That was just
Hmm.
a fun book. So I'd like to continue that story on, and they're doing it.
Right. Yeah, and both this story and the first story, both end on cliffhangers. The first story, we find Lex. Yeah, exactly. We find Lex has finally let loose Metallo on Metropolis and on Superman, and so they go and they're trying to destroy the new tower that was just built. And Connor ends up battling Metallo, doesn't really win, and so we see basically Superman is gonna go now and fight Metallo because he has to save Connor, who is in the grasp of Metallo at the end of the first story. The second story, we have this new character who has supposedly, he has somehow been rocketed to Earth. Sounds like a familiar story. Um,
It happens.
and yeah, exactly. We don't know who she is, but she wants to be taken to our king. So don't know who it is. We'll find out more next issue. But that's where Jonathan basically finds her in a field. Again, very familiar story. But we don't know who it is. We'll find out more about her next issue. And the last story had to do with Power Girl
Yeah, this is
and
what
her
made
new.
up. This is the one that made up for that Lazarus Planet
Right.
issue. So last week we had her story in Lazarus Planet. It said to be continued in this.
Hmm. Yeah, and so she has developed some telekinetic or empathic type powers,
She
where
can
she
read
can
minds.
basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she reads minds. Um, and so and I can't think of the character. Like, what's the name of the character with the red hair there? Um,
Omen.
what's that?
Omen.
Okay, right, Omen, right. So they basically decide to kind of almost form this partnership, um, and they're gonna try to help people, but their first patients ends up being Dick Grayson and
A goat.
a cow who is who is Gar, who has since Dark Crisis has been stuck in this form and has not said anything. So it almost feels as though it's post-traumatic stress disorder that has somehow trapped him. And so they're hoping that the two of them can somehow help him to both be able to speak again and to get him out of this form that he's stuck in. So Power Girl goes in and she basically goes in and she's fighting all of these different animals that are red because Gar's power comes from the red, and she realizes that it has to do with coding. It basically is all coding, and so there's something wrong with the coding that he has right now, and that's why he's not able to change back. So she goes in, she does some things with coding. There's a whole bunch of zeros and ones involved, and she's able to get Gar out of his, he's able to return back to his human-like form, and basically he says something. Basically, the first thing he says is, "Oh God." And that's
Oh
where we
god,
end the story.
that was pretty cool. That was actually an enjoyable story. It was
Mhm.
action packed through his mindscape to fighting back the red from it, keeping her out. I thought that was fun. I always love when we deal with the Parliament. I thought it was good reminding the readers that Gar is part of the Parliament. You have Solomon Grundy's part of the Gray or the Rot. Swamp Thing is the Avatar of the Green. You have Animal Man, Buana Beast, Beast Boy. You have so many characters attached to the red. So it was a cool little reminder there. And I enjoyed that. I don't necessarily need every episode to be like a therapy session on the couch, but I did like the dynamic of Omen and Power Girl in this one. So that was definitely a step up from really their rollout in that Lazarus Planet issue.
Yeah, and I like to your point. I like the format too. It seems as though we're going to get probably a longer story, a normal size story, which will probably feature Clark, and then we'll get two shorter stories that'll feature part of the Superman family. So,
Yeah.
it's
So yeah, I'm in for it. Big excited for the Super Family in 2023. Keep them pumping, keep them coming. I can't wait. Can't wait for adventures. I'm so ready to get to Electric Blue John. It's ridiculous. They got me the last week. I thought that was it. I had my shirt on. I was ready. It didn't happen. Oh,
man. Uh,
maybe he's
uh,
enjoying the milking machine. Maybe, but he was a calf, so wasn't quite at milking age. And also, I don't know too many people that would milk a bull. Anyways, I got
oh, okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all
Detective
right.
Comics 1068 from Rom V continues to be a phenomenal read. I'm loving the pacing of this. They're not rushing through this story. They're not doing 3-4 issue story arcs. This is the equivalent of what Superman just had with the War World saga, but for Batman. You have the whole coming of the Orgum family back to Gotham, taking what they feel is their rightful place and trying to take back over the city by planting this machine in the heart of the city. It's really magic-based machine that sets the tone of the future to come. We were really introduced to that in the most recent annual where they showed how that machine was corrupted by a Dark Avenger foiling their plot. Hence why there's been a Dark Avenger in Gotham foiling the bad guys' plots forever and always. But we have the family trying to reset it. What's so great about this, especially now, is Ivan Reis is back. Ivan Reis is back and he's kicking ass. I absolutely love his interiors. They're some of the most comic booky looking, consistent, dynamic, just fantastic art. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and the whole,
Yes.
Rom V just seems to write at a whole different level. You know, it's um if some of the other stories and some of the other people that are writing like Dr. Seuss and he's writing like William Shakespeare. He's just
That's a good way to put it. It really is. Yeah, so in this issue we kind of so we had Arson, who is like the head figure of the family, who's supposed to be like their crown prince. looks like he came to talk directly with Bruce Wayne as his family were all scheming elsewhere, and they even bombed the Narrows because they're trying to take over a bunch of land by force at this point, and Batman has to respond to it. And when he gets there, these magic infused members of the Orgum ensemble really start attacking him. He's able to subdue the werewolf one, having learned in the last issue that he's vulnerable to low temperatures. So a little bit of Mr. Freeze was in play with that one. So he just freezes this one and kind of wins the fight, but then he has to immediately fight the Tin Claw. Give me Knuckles. That's awesome.
Because I know what the watch on
HBO.
HBO,
Yes.
Disney Plus, and Netflix. And those are the only
All
things I know
three?
what to pick.
Well, that's perfect. There's plenty of stuff on all of those.
I was gonna get Godzilla, the one with King Kong, Godzilla, and Mecha Godzilla,
Yeah.
but I found that instead.
Well, perfect.
Because I like
So he takes out the Lycan, who he's been going back and forth with for the past few issues, and he gets attacked by the next person, who this is really the first time we've seen this person really expand out and show their powers and show their cards. And it was the Tin Claw, 6 arms, attacks Batman, kind of bests him in just mere seconds. And then the Lycan, who no longer has the ability to turn into a Lycan, been poisoned by Batman with silver, comes up to him and puts what's called the Asmere, which is almost like, it seems like a magic zombie fire. They're able to like zombie out people to get them to work for them. It looks like he's about to tether Batman to the Asmere, and he does, and Batman starts seeing his demons and everything, and he's able to mentally overcome it. And he had a little bit of help from Two-Face, who's really also dealing with the duality of being two people in one, having been attached to the Asmere already, fighting which side was. That was a cool aspect, that even though they brainwashed him with that magic potion stuff, they could only get half of him. And he's fighting back that the effects and helping Batman in the process, because he's already regretting them and their play in this city. But it kind of leaves us on a low note with Batman down and out again. And Two-Face goes looking for the doctor from Arkham for help. He goes looking for the doctor from Arkham. But if y'all don't know, the doctor from Arkham Tower, when it fell, she went collecting all the runaway inmates. And they did this story called Arkham something, World of something. But it was a 5-issue series that they did, in Waters and Danny, with the creepiest of the creepiest inmates, killing Dr. Phosphorus, Tin-Eyed Man, Grundy, Firefly, Ratcatcher. It was just the lowest of the low, and he walks into her apartment where she's still harboring the Tin-Eyed Man. So a down-and-out Batman and a Harvey Two-Face, who's just Harvey, just walked in on the Tin-Eyed Man, which is really bad news. Really, really bad news, and that's where they leave us.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I cannot say enough about this. It's I have to read. There are some books that I have to read twice. I have to read his books twice just to make sure that I'm getting everything that he's saying every time, because, like I said, he just writes at such a different level.
A lot
than
of
other writers.
symbolism, metaphor,
Yeah.
and he works great with his artists. Like they, like for his writing to be mirroring what's really on the pages, and it really brings out so much of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Last book, Human Target, penultimate issue.
Go ahead.
We get the big reveal.
Mm-hmm.
What we think will be the big reveal. This book has been gangbusters from start to finish. Normally you get like this crazy mystery where you're told to look over here, and by about issue 10 or 11, they hit you with a twist. They've hit us with about 3 or 4 twists along the way in this one, and it's been good. It's been good. So this is pretty much just a low-key issue of him hanging out with Ice, having found out that she was the one that orchestrated all this, just really wanting to know why, trying to understand. And she goes back a little bit of the history of it and everything, and kind of the emotions that were involved with her, like not being able to really live with being killed by Lex Luthor, and how her friend Ice was really just, or her friend Fire couldn't live with her being hurt, and how they went about just how easy it was for them just to play some of the people like Martian Manhunter to get the potions they needed, Guy Gardner to get in on the action to help it, because he's kind of just a raged out he's just a raged out individual. It was easy for them to manipulate him, especially with how he feels about Ice. And she's having a hard time with the fact that Christopher is okay with it. He's pretty much accepted death, and this is making her angry and everything, and she just doesn't know what to do. And it kind of leaves us in a weird little position where she doesn't necessarily want to live, and she's on the beach talking about how she just feels bad about killing me at this point. She's gotten to know him. She's gotten to like him. So she grabs his gun, puts it on her head, and demands that he pulls the trigger, and that's where they leave us.
Right. She's a foul-mouthed little woman.
She is. She's batshit crazy also.
Yeah, exactly.
She's
Tom
crazy.
King did a post, I think I read, I don't know if it was Twitter or whatever, but he basically said, issue 11 basically tells you the plan. Issue 12 is all about the dying.
Oh, no.
So we'll see where that ends up. This is actually a great cover. I mean, the
Gorgeous.
yeah.
It's the now if you think about it, this is the first time we had Ice on the cover, and every time it's like who we've been investigating. No, this is the only character to have appeared twice because Ice was on issue 2, and now she's back on the cover. Every cover's featured who he was really honing his investigation in on. I haven't looked ahead, but I'm wondering who's going to make the final cover. What's going to be the final cover? That'll be interesting to see how they're the covers are playing into the story in a way. So. And also, my wife just sent this photo. It's definitely worth checking out. This is Finn and years later, Monkey in the same PJs.
Oh, nice.
That's super cool. She just sent that. Oh, she was out when I got the kids ready for bed, so I put Monkey in Finn's old Superman PJs, which are now her Supergirl PJs.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's all good. So that's all the books I have for tonight. Do you have any more you want to hit on or touch on?
I do not have any more.
As a reminder, everybody, tomorrow at 10 a.m., the DC Comics Deep Dive featuring Lazarus Planet, We Once Were Gods, will drop tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Sector 2815's YouTube channel. Be sure to hit it up. Subscribe to Sector. He's closely approaching. How many subs did you say?
I am 14 away from 300, and I am 34 Instagram away from 3,000.
Boom, doing big things. So if you have not followed Paul, be sure to do that. It's Sector 2815 on YouTube and Paul Cook on Instagram.
Cook 1616.
Cook 16. Have you thought about changing it to Sector 2815?
I have, but I don't know. But don't you lose a lot of followers if you do that?
I don't think so. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be the one to ask. You need to ask Ryan that.
This is the cover to number 12. I don't know if you can see it or not.
He made the cover. Nice. There it goes. Yeah, that's pretty fire.
Mm.
Last week's Lazarus Planet. Wait, let's see. This week's Lazarus Planet was much better. Yeah, we touched on it. It was much, much better. This one was fire. It's awesome. So, yeah, that's going to do it for tonight. I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget, next Sunday we'll be drawing for the winner of the January Legion Loot giveaway box sponsored by Big Time Collectibles. Huge, huge giveaway. Some awesome stuff in there. The big giveaway is the one-of-one Austin LeMay 9.8 slab. We got some Big Time Collectibles exclusives in there. We've got the first appearance of Ted Cord Blue Beetle in there. I'm also throwing that. I had a facsimile that was going in there that was in my box just because I get Hulk stuff and I don't need the facsimile. But it's still a cool book. The first appearance of Joe Fixit. The first appearance of Joe Fixit will be going in there as well from the facsimile that just came out this past week. So, yeah. So to enter the monthly giveaway box for that, just join the channel membership. Be sure to, there's 2 tiers. There's a supporter tier and then there's the Legion tier. Be sure to join the Legion tier to be entered to win. And yeah, until next time, as always, I'm Mark, that's Paul, but we are Legion.